Hey, welcome in. I'm about to do a Bible lesson on the Bible. It's not a fairy tale. You just don't believe in no prophecy and history. So you see it in the title. And, yeah. Let's see. See if I get my historical stuff. Sennacherib. Oops, that's first name right. Sennacherib. Conquer and beat. Do I got it? Here we go. Sennacherib. Then we're gonna go to Nebuchadnezzar. Maybe Nebuchadnezzar eat straw like ours. What's it? I'm trying to spell Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. Okay. Eat straw. That's not the one I wanted, but an account. Okay. All right. I'm just getting some history and stuff together, and it comes to my attention. I saw on YouTube. I saw Hebrew brothers talking. Well, one Hebrew brother talking about the Bible is a fairy tale. It's not real. All this other stuff. Uh, Let me see. Let me get my history and stuff together right quick. That's what I'm doing. I gotta make sure I got it right because I'm looking at one with Nebuchadnezzar. Where is that? And I'm gonna make sure my got all my scriptures, all my notes. Hmm. Hang on, bear with me right quick. I gotta get my notes and history together. So I got everything together. Hmm. Okay. Make sure I got my historical stuff together, everything. All right. All right. Hang on. Let me get my notes. Because I'm looking for one I did with Nebuchadnezzar, and it shows a history book where the priest said that Nebuchadnezzar uh historical accounts. Cause boy, Israel, boy, we as a people, boy, we would deny anything without investigating nothing, without doing nothing. I can't believe that brother sit up here and said that the Bible is a fairy tale. That's not okay. I think that's the best I can get until I find the one and a priest speaks on Babylon, speak on Nebuchadnezzar's Nebuchadnezzar's illness. Let's see, illness. I have to suffer from him. Okay, I think I got it. But yeah, I got a lot of history and stuff. But now we're finna do some reading. We're gonna start this off with Israel, and like I said, our people don't know prophecy. Our people don't know history. We don't know nothing. So we just run off with the guns, and they say, "Well, the Bible is a fairy tale." I can't believe that brother said that. Well, I do believe, because you know, we as a people, we're hard headed, stiff necked. We don't want to read nothing. We don't want to investigate. You know, we don't want to investigate nothing. I was gonna let that pass, but just like Jeremiah, the fire is within my bones. I can't shut up. Oh yeah, I forgot. I gotta put Rome. I gotta put Roman history in here. If I'm gonna talk about Nebuchadnezzar and all that, I gotta put Rome in here. Hang on. I gotta put Rome in here. If I'm gonna talk about some history. Let me see. Here we go. I think I'll find the scriptures right here. Yes, damn. That's not it. Start this off. St. Luke 19, St. Luke 21. Nope. Not fair, nah. I think it'll be good enough because I can't put a lot here. I think they're gonna be enough. Um, yeah, it should be enough. I'm gonna stop at I'm gonna stop at Daniel 5. Trying to think. Do I want to stop at Daniel 5? Okay, I'm gonna find my way. Just stop right here. Then I'm gonna come back. Okay, come back a minute. Well, we're gonna start this off in Deuteronomy 28. We're gonna read some prophecy and we're gonna read some history. Because now this is what we need to start off at. This is our starting point with our people. So, and it shall come to pass, if thou hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. I know that. I know we ain't at the top of everything. I can see right now, even in this generation, we ain't at the top of everything. Oh, we at the top of everything, dealing with everything negative, stereotyped. You know, and then all the blessings shall come upon thee. Deuteronomy 28. This one starting off with Deuteronomy 28, 1 through uh, 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee, and overtake thee, if thou hearken unto the voice of the Lord your God. And blessed shall thou be in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field. So, uh, we would have been able to, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? We would have been the not entrepreneur, the architects. We would have been the architects. We would have been the ones that within the city, no matter what happens in the city, we the boss. No matter what happens in the fields, that's the country. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. You got the city, Atlanta, then you got Georgia. That's all down south and all that. But just like that, the Lord said, "Bless in the city, bless in the field." Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, your children, the fruit of thy ground, your crops, your fruit, your vegetables, and the fruit of thy cattle, the animals that you purchase as food or pets. And then you have the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. So he's just telling you that you're gonna be blessed. Blessed shall thy basket to be thy basket in thy store. So our businesses, our stores, convenience stores, corner stores, uh, and blessed shall thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shall thou be when thou goest out. So no matter where we go on this planet, no matter where we are, we can be in America, we can be in Canada, Brazil, Japan, China, Korea, where else would it be? All of Europe. So Western Europe, UK, France, all that, Africa, you know, it just wherever you go, be blessed. you know, and the Lord shall cause thy seven, and the Lord shall cause thy enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten, and before thy eyes they shall come out against thee one way, and flee before thee seven ways. So the Lord said He's gonna be our refuge, our habitation, our protection, and our tower of defense. That's what the Lord said. And then anybody that come up against you, the Lord was gonna handle that. He was gonna handle that by the hand of an angel, or He gonna handle that by the hand of a man. And you're gonna see some things. Um, and where I'm at 7. Let me see where I'm supposed to stop at. Okay, read through 1 through 14. I'm reading 1 through 14. Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. So, yeah, you live northwest. Okay, northwest Georgia. So you know, there's a lot of countries up there too. It's a mixture of city and country up there too. But yeah, uh, verse 8. This hold on, this one. All right. Let's see. All right, verse 8. Uh, the Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in the storehouses, and your storehouses, and all that thou settest thy hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And the Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, and he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord your God and walk in his ways. And verse 10, all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. So, you know, nobody ain't gonna come in your community. They ain't gonna mess with you because they see that your name is the Lord's name, and that under the protection you have the protection of the Lord, the angels. He just telling you people ain't gonna bother you, they ain't gonna harass you, they ain't gonna threaten you and all that other stuff. But you know, that's how it is, and they're gonna be afraid of you because your name is synonymous with Israel, so they will know. Oh, okay, we ain't gonna mess with this people because we know this people is protected by God, and what else? And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, and the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord swore unto your fathers to give thee, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And the Lord shall open unto thee his good treasures, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thy hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. I can't, what? That right there. So you telling me that, uh, uh, Rosewood, Black Wall Street, all that other stuff, and before all that, before we even got to the lands or whatever lands we was driven off to, before we even got there, we would have been blessed. Matter of fact, we would have been um, blessed and lending to other nations in the land where we were supposed to be at. But now, and then he said we ain't gonna borrow. So, but now the Lord gonna drop the other shoe. This where prophecy and history, right here, is gonna really, Lord really gonna show you what's what. So verse what I'm saying. All right, we're in the 14th. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only. Didn't I say that we were gonna be the top people on the earth? We was gonna be blessed on every side. We were gonna be the top people of the earth. We were gonna be the best of the best. No matter what go down on this earth, we still the boss. And what I'm saying, thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, and to go after other gods to serve them. Now, why Moses say that? Why Moses say that? So let's go to 15. Now, this where you're gonna see prophecy, and then you're gonna see some history. You're gonna see a lot in and out of this book. And you got people out here saying, especially our Hebrew brothers and brothers that don't know they Hebrews, or they don't know themselves to be that, or they don't know who they are, where they come from. They sit up and say the Bible is a fairy tale. Okay, we're gonna see. We're gonna see throughout history. Call it that we're gonna call it. So, cause I seen that brother talking about the Bible. Let's get into the word. But 15, Deuteronomy 18, Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. Now we're gonna read 15 to 30, 15, 30 to 30 to 50 to 68. I'm gonna read some history. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe to do all his commandments and statutes which I command thee this day, that all the curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. See, now it's a reverse thing. He said we was gonna be blessed if we keep his laws and commandments. But now it's a reverse thing. If we don't keep his laws and commandments, now it's a reverse. Everything is backwards now. We're supposed to be going forward. Now everything is going backwards. So, let's see. Let's see the list he's dealing with right here. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. So now what are we in the inner city, or we in the countryside? Now it's going to be bad and rough for us. Cursed shall thou be thy basket and thy store. Do I have to tell you what happened to us when we had all those black towns? I even got historical. I got historical Um, I got historical stuff on that. Matter of fact, let me pull it up because I got it. I got it on my phone, but I gotta get it on my I gotta get it on my hang on. Hang on. Because Lord said, "Cursed thou shalt thou be thy city, and cursed shall thou be in the field." So we're gonna do some history on this. Let's see did this happen. Multiple thriving black towns and communities were systematically destroyed and burned and stolen. Racial massacres, violence, and forced explosions. I don't know why they put explosion like that. I don't know why they spelled it like that. In the early 20th century, notable examples include the 1917 East St. Louis riot. You got the 1920 OC massacre. You got the 1921 Tulsa massacre, and you got the 1923 Rosewood massacre, which collectively resulted in hundreds of deaths, thousands left homeless, and the total destruction of black-owned property. That happened because the Lord said, "Cursed shall thou be in the city, cursed shall thou be in the field, cursed shall thou be thy basket and thy store." Our businesses. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, and the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. And yeah, and cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. And now, let's see. Let's see right quick. I'll go back to my notes. Okay, 15, 25. We're reading the 25. And, the Lord shall send upon thee cursing and vexings and rebuke and all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall, verse 21, the Lord shall make thee the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it. You know, that's all the Lord speaking here, all the sickness and all the sickness and diseases of, all the sickness and diseases and everything that's going on in the world or that's gonna happen to you a majority of the time. Look at COVID. We had more black people died than anyone during COVID, you know, is a lot of diseases and stuff. And the Lord shall smite thee with the consumption and with fever and with the inflammation, and with the extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou be perished. You know, look what happened during the slave trade. Look what happened. Look at how you don't know how many black slaves died on the slave ships. But died on the slave ship because of diseases. They were stacked up like planks. They had to use the restroom. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be of brass, and the earth that is underneath shall be of iron. And the Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust, and from the heaven shall it come down upon thee, and until thou be destroyed. That means the Lord ain't gonna bless you, he ain't gonna protect you, he ain't gonna do nothing for you. That's all it is. And the Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thy enemies, and thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. Wait a minute. Did not the Lord say during the blessings? Did he not say that our enemies gonna flee away from us in 7 ways before us? But now it's a reverse thing. Now we gonna flee 7 ways, 7 ways before our enemies. We see it all the time. You know, we see it all the time. It happen all the time in our communities and in the hood. You know, ask, ask the brothers and sisters that stand on the corner stores and the gas stations. You know, but I digress. And shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So now the Lord said, now we're going to go in captivity. We're going to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. But the Lord going to upon that, and He's going to give more details on what's going to happen when we get to these lands. So now let's skip down to verse 30. We're going to read some stuff. Matter of fact, no, I can't skip down to verse 30 because I got some other stuff to read. And thy car and 26, and thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. 27, and the Lord shall smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the hemorrhoids, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. Go back and look up the pictures of slaves with diseases and botched skin and hemorrhoids and uh, you know rashes. But this is key right here. Here goes some more. And the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment and heart. What you mean madness? We just mad all the time. Why you mad, brother? Nah, I'm just mad. I'm upset. Why you upset? Why you mad? I'm just mad, man. For what reason are you mad? I'm just mad. You know, we shake the fist, we march, we get upset. The police do something to us. We either march or we riot or we mostly in our own neighborhoods. But I'm just saying, the Lord said He gonna smite us with madness and blindness. So we ain't gonna know what to do. We don't know who to turn to. We don't know who to trust. Astonishment of heart. So we gonna be confused, confounded, hoodwinked, bamboozled. And thou shalt grape at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save you or save you out of the situation or your condition. Verse 30. Now we know this all too well. Here go another part of prophecy. Here go another part of prophecy that happened, and here go another part of prophecy that happened in history. It's a historical fact. You go to the slave museums, you see it all the time. Thou shalt be taught the wife, and another man shall lie with her. Man, did that not happen in Roots? We got Roots. We got the Django. We got all these movies showing us and telling us that a man of another nation slept with our wives. Why? Because the master or the slave owner, taskmaster, he slept with your wives. Slept with our wives, raped them, had children with them. But during slave time, matter of fact, I'm gonna show you. You know, not only did they sleep with our wives, they had breeding farms. They had breeding farms. That was during the slave trade. Got some history on that. All right, slave breeding was a systematic forced reproduction of enslaved in the United States, particularly after the 1808 abolishment. After what? Oh, this ain't the only time after the abolishment of slavery, 1808, of the Atlantic slave trade, owners encouraged or coerced forced pregnancies to increase their labor force and capital without purchasing new slaves. This include oh, you're gonna see why But there was one, no, you're going to see there was one person that did not do that. There was one person, that one slave owner, who went back to Africa and purchased some new slaves. So we're going to read about him too. And this included forced sexual relations. Uh, I don't know if I can say the word, R word, grape by owners, and cases, selective breeding to produce stronger laborers, more workers. So, that's what happened. And that's why the Lord said in verse 30, thou shalt betroth a wife. You're going to marry your wife, and another man shall lie with her. And thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. So now you know what the Lord meant by you're gonna be oppressed and crushed, not only by man but by uh, you know dealing with you got some slaves that's gonna be in the shacks. You got some slaves in the house. But in the house it was far worse. Do I got to look up history on what happened to the slaves in the house, where the slaves were beaten, hanged in the house, burnt in the house, you know, buried in the house on the slave plantations? Do I gotta actually read that? You know? But we seen roots, we seen Mississippi burning, we seen Rosewood, all that. But yeah, let's see. 31. And thy ox shall be slain before thy eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. And thy donkey shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. And thy sheep be given unto thy enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. So basically, nobody ain't gonna deliver you out of their hand. They're gonna betroth a wife. You gonna betroth a wife. They're gonna grape them. They're gonna force them. We just got through reading up on them breeding farms. These folks had breeding farms after the abolishment of Atlantic slave trade in 1808. They had breeding farms. All right, but here go another prophecy that you can find in history. And thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Wait a minute, what you mean thy sons and thy daughters shall be given to another people? Let's go into some history. Shall I do this one or that one? Matter of fact, let me see. Let me read this one first. Let me see. Let me read a little bit of history right quick. Oh, okay. Let's talk about something else that I'm gonna get to. I got a lot of history on this, but I'm just uh showing through prophecy and history. This is what it's about, prophecy and history, that the Bible is not a fairy tale. People are sitting up here, especially our people. We're supposed to be the priests. We're supposed to know, you know. We're supposed to put prophecy and history together, but we don't do that. We don't do that. But I'm on verse 32, Deuteronomy 28, verse 32. Uh it's talking about thy sons and thy daughters shall be given to another people. Another people, huh? Huh. Let's read that. I was born in what? I was born in 1992. This happened. This happened to a, a young brother named Terrell Peterson. Y'all heard about Terrell Peterson? It said Terrell Peterson, born 1992, died 1998. Was a 5-year-old black child in Georgia. Here in my state. Here in my state. in Georgia, in Georgia, who was tortured and beaten to death while under state supervision, weighing only 29 pounds with extensive injuries when he died. Uh, His 1998 murder was part of a larger tragic pattern where over 800 children died while known to Georgians and defects. Wait a minute. Wow, known to defects. Yeah, because when that white boy was killed, they looked into defects. They found out the whole system, the whole foster care system was, it was horrible. It was horrible. You had a lot of black children being unalived or killed by their foster parents. And defects between 1995 to 1998. So I was born in 1992. I was born, yeah, I was born in 1992, the same year he was born. So, you know, that what happened. You know, but the Lord said, 32, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fail with the longing for them all the day longing, and there shall be no might in thy hand. Let's read about that too. Let's read about that too. You know, let's see. Hang on. Let's see. Because we saw roots. We saw roots. We saw what happened in roots. This is the second part of the prophecy that the Lord told Moses to write and to tell Israel. This is the second part, Deuteronomy 28, verse 32. This is talking about when during slavery, the children was taken away from their parents. And it says during American child slavery, roughly 50% of this during child slavery. Oh, we're gonna go to Africa. We're gonna go to Africa. We're gonna read about what the Arabs did. We're gonna go there. He said 50% is more than that. During American child slavery, roughly 50% of enslaved people were separated from spouses or parents, with about 1 in 4 children sold away from their families, driven by debt, estate division, or punishment. These separations were used to break family bonds and maintain control, causing lasting trauma. Yeah, you take the man out of the house, what happened? You take the boy out of the house, what happened? Matter of fact, matter of fact, that's how it was. It's still going on today. You read Isaiah 3. You read Isaiah 3 where it says rule over the woman rule over the people, and the children are their oppressors. That's how it is nowadays. You take the man out the house, they ain't have no protection, you know, no protection over your children. But then again, the Lord said it's gonna happen in your face, in your presence, in your face. And go watch the movie Roots. Go watch it. You know, go watch it. I seen it. And if I seen it. I'm talking about the original version, not the re-edition, not the new one, because they water down everything. They ain't gonna tell you the whole truth, but they water down everything. You know, yeah, I see, I see your comment, but yeah, uh, that's how it was. Go watch Roots. I'm talking about the original. Go wash your roots. That's what happened. So that's what the Lord said. The second part dealing with matter of fact, I'll read it again. Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. And that's about it right there. So let's see. Let me go back to my scriptures, my notes. Let's see what I got to read to. I said verse 34, 40. And then I say, I'm going to put 44. Skip down to 44. Okay. And the fruit of thy land and all that, 33, verse 33. The fruit of thy land, all the labors shall nation which thou knowest not eat up. What you mean, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall nation which thou not knowest not eat up. Oh, we know about America, you know. We built the monuments, we built the railroad, we built we built the White House. But this nation take all the credit. You know, they take all the credit. They take everything from you. You know, you work hard. You work hard. Matter of fact, oh man, y'all ain't gonna like this. Y'all ain't gonna like this. I have the history on my phone, but I gotta see if I can find it again. They even took your history. They even took civil rights away from you. They took it away from you. Matter of fact, I wish I can. Let me see. Let me see. Did I name this right? Because the Lord said right here on the top half, He said, "The fruit of thy land and thy labors, and shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up." So it's not just talking about America, because you're gonna see it's not just talking about America, but I'm gonna show you what happened in this hemisphere, because you know I'm gonna show you what happened over here. What happened over here? Pushed against. Let's see. What did I say? Courts pushed against civil rights, and they pushed against it. Not only they pushed against it. Hang on. No, that's not it. That's no. That's not it. No. Let me get the one when we was fighting for civil rights. Here it is. Yep, this is the one I found on my phone. Uh, it says the courts in the United States, particularly the Supreme Court during the antebellum era, antebellum era, frequently upheld the institution of slavery and restricted the rights of the black people, and both enslaved and free. The most of infamous example of this push was the 1857 Dred Scott versus Sanford decision, which declared that black people were not citizens and had no rights, which the white man was bound to respect. And let's see. Huh, wait a minute, what Pennsylvania doing now? I thought it was just the South. But anyway, Dred Scott versus Sanford, 1857. The Supreme Court ruled that Congress lacked the authority to prohibit slavery in federal territories, effectively making slavery legal throughout the United States. The court also ruled it, 1857, after the abolishment of the Atlanta slave trade. That's crazy. The court, see, I'm just showing you that it's always been that way. Nothing has changed. And the court who ruled that enslaved people did not become free by moving to free states or territories. Oh yeah, because remember the slave catchers, they come knocking at your door. The slave catchers come knocking at your door. They come knocking at your door. Where your freedom papers? Nowadays, you have, hey, what you doing here? Why are you having a why you having a cookout here? Why you having a function here? Why you over here? Why you fishing over here? Do you got a license? Why you serving lemonade? You got a license? You see that? But in territories, uh, Prig versus Pennsylvania. Oh, Pennsylvania. Okay. The Supreme. I thought it was just the South. But the Supreme Court ruled at the state level personal liberty laws meant to protect the black people from being kidnapped were unconstitutional, prioritizing the Federal Fugitive Slave Act. So there go the slave catchers right there. Now you become fugitives. You know, you once slaves and on now you become fugitives. But you know, the property rights focus. Southern courts typically view slaves as property, often focusing on the economic interests of owners, while some, like in Louisiana, allow for limit legal protections. Most courts enforce strict slave codes. Okay. Uh, Limitation on testimony. So this talking about us black being black jurors and stuff like that. Limitation on testimony. In many jurisdictions, black people, whether free or enslaved, were forbidden from testifying against white people, making it nearly impossible and legally challenging abuse. So it's still going on today. You know, uh, we the whole court system still practice. You see about one black person go to court, and you'll see about five white people, or you see five Hispanic, or you see five this, five that, but you only see one black person up there. You only see one. That's why the Lord said, "The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall nations which thou shalt knowest eat up, not eat up." So it don't matter where you are, like in America, Canada, Brazil. It don't matter where you at. It's just the court system gonna remain the same. You're gonna face the same treatment. So uh, basically, that's where it stands. I could have read well, your civil rights was taken from you. You know, I could have read your civil rights was taken from you. It was taken from you. So matter of fact, let's go down there. Uh, the post Civil War continued impact. Even after the abolishment of slavery, court systems continue to utilize uh, precedents rooted in slave law. Don't you know them slave laws and them slave museums? They still exist. They still exist. You go to them slave museums, you hear about the convict leasing law. They still purchasing U.S. slaves. You see about the mass incarcerations. Matter of fact, we're gonna read about that too. But I'm gonna tie that to a scripture. I'm gonna tie that to Isaiah 42. That's a lot of uh, prophecy the Lord gave, and then you're gonna see it play out in history. So, yeah, the slave laws, civil rights cases, 1883, 1883. Man, we almost in the 19th century. The Supreme Court ruled that the 13th Amendment only prohibited slavery, not private discrimination, allowing segregation to continue. President versus Ferguson, 1896. Similar to the reasoning in the civil rights cases, the court upheld segregation. Oh, y'all gonna hear about this too. What this happened in the Horn of Africa too. You gonna hear about this too. Because, like I said, it's going to tie into a scripture and prophecy that the Lord gave in Isaiah 42. It's going to tie into that. Then you're going to see legacy and modern law. Some cases from the 19th century involving enslaved people are still cited as a legal precedent for modern property and contract law. So Basically, what it's saying is, hey, yeah, you might pay the rent. You might you might pay the rent. Your family might been living here for years, but we can terminate the contract. We can do it. We can terminate the contract. Anytime we want, cause you under contract. You know, but uh, yeah, okay, yeah. But that's why the Lord said, the fruit of thy land and all your labors shall nation which not knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. So that was Deuteronomy 28, verse 32. And we read some history on how we're being oppressed and crushed away through the courts. But yeah, now let's get back on track. I wish on YouTube I can share pictures and all that, because the Lord go in on how when we was on the slave ships, we would have boils and all that, sickness, all that. I wish I could show it. It's funny, on the other apps you can do that. On another app you can do it. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and the legs, and with sore. No, no, no. Verse 34, because I'm reading the 40. The so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thy eyes which thou see. So, we see what the courts are doing. We see what the courts are doing. We see how our civil rights is being given to another people, taken away. It's supposed to be ours, but it's given to another people and it's taken away. You know. So yeah, and then that's why Lord said we're gonna be mad and we're gonna see these things happening to us. We're gonna be mad. So that's how it is. Uh, Verse 35. And the Lord shall smite thee in the knees and the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. So, you look at the pictures of the black slaves, they had swords and botches and hemorrhoids and all that, you know. 36. Here go another prophecy the Lord called out that had Moses to write. And then you can go in history and find it. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation. See, we didn't even know we had a royalty or a king, you know, uh, um, within our families. We didn't know that, you know, you know, uh, and set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. Uh, should I do that? Should I put that? Matter of fact, I could. Uh, I could, but I might want to put that history with the. Let me see. Uh, Matter of fact, I don't have to, because it's talking about when you read Jeremiah 10, the Lord talking about Christmas. You read Ezekiel 8, the Lord talking about Easter. So our forefathers didn't know about the God of Christmas or the God of Easter. Uh, Matter of fact, we can read about it, but I was going to say that history another lesson called pagan holidays, Christmas, one of Satan's pagan holidays, and Halloween, one of Satan's pagan holidays. But I ain't gonna do that until matter of fact, I gotta do Easter because Easter is coming up. But yeah, yeah. So basically, what the Lord's saying here, that our forefathers didn't know about nothing about the God of Christmas, the God of Easter, the God of Sunday. The God that say He gonna steal you off to heaven. When the Lord said that He gonna come down on earth, His feet gonna hit the Mount of Olives. He gonna split the mountains. He gonna bring back the children of Israel back into the land. He's gonna set up His priesthood back in the land of Israel. The law, the law. Then the statues, the judgments, gonna go out of Zion, and it's gonna come forth out of Jerusalem. The Lord said 4 times. He said, "I'll do nothing but raise you up at the last day." The Lord said, "Dust thou art, dust you shall return." So, where do we get all this stuff from? Talking about going to heaven or going to hell when the Bible does not say anything about that. The Bible don't say nothing about that. The Lord got scriptures against Christmas. You know, He got scriptures against Christmas. He got scriptures against Easter. You know, Sunday. The Lord went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. We don't do that. Look at what happened in the black. Look what's going on in the black churches. You notice how I say Rome or the Roman Catholic Church? Because the Lord said He given the oracles, which is the answers of God to the children of Israel. And Paul had to correct the Romans. He had to G-check the Romans. Like, who you think teaching you? I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. So that what Rome had to check Paul had to check the Romans because the Romans was getting too big for their britches. You know, they was getting too pumped up. They was getting too pumped up and proud. But because they thought that the church of God was taken away and was given to them. You know, the priesthood, the law, and all that. But dealing with the law and stuff. But now, where I'm at, 36. So now we in every religion on the planet dealing with that, and we're gonna read about that. It's gonna highlight a little bit. Uh, it's gonna highlight a little bit, but I don't wanna put it with that one because you know, I already know who the wood and stone gods is. So I already know. You know, just like matter of fact, Islam is a pagan uh, religion. Even though in the Quran they tell you that the Allah gave the children Israel the commandments. Uh, you're supposed to obey Jesus. You're supposed to respect Jesus, and you're supposed to deal with that. They don't even read their own book, but they want you to deal with their God, and they don't realize themselves they worshiping a false god named Baal, who was a pagan moon god. So you know, but then again, verse 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment. Oh, I got some history on this too. Here go another prophecy. The Lord gave Moses to and write down, and you can find the history. And the Lord and thou shalt become an astonishment. A proverb. You know what a proverb is? Everybody got something smart to say about you. You know, everybody got something to say. And matter of fact, you go back. Uh, Matter of fact, I can look this up. Uh, uh, you know, uh, here goes some proverbs that during the time we were on television for the first time and all that. You know, we was given what you call that word? I forgot that word. Given a chance to be on television and all that. But I want you to see what they uh say about you. You know, these are proverbs. Minstrel show proverbs and sayings were largely manufactured stereotypical dialogue designed by white performers in blackface to mock African Americans, after portraying them as lazy, simple minded, or comically ignorant. These were delivered in a forced, exaggerated dialect as part of the crossfire and jokes between the interlocutor and the Enderman, the Tambo, and the Bones. Here are examples of types of proverbs, puns, conundrums found in 19th century minstrel show scripts. But it wasn't just found in the minstrel shows. You can go look at Disney. Go look at all the old Walt Disney cartoons and you see it. You can even hear some proverbs racial. I want to say racial. Derogatory proverbs. But here goes some of them. Hopefully, I can say it on YouTube. Washington, Ethiopian white, labor in vain. Reference to old proverb about trying to change nature and used by stage blackamoors to mock the idea of equality. When you are anvil, hold you still. When you are a hammer, strike your field. Better to go about 10 to fall into the ditch. The cat is hungry when a crust contents her. Crooked legs make straight fires a lazy dog conundrum. So it's like, it just a proverb. It's just like when a brother say, "Oh, I'm finna go to the John." Don't you know that during slave trade, I mean not slave trade, during chattel slavery, when the slave owner had to use the bathroom to go to the outhouse, you know what he said? "Hey man, I'll be right back. I'm finna go crap on John." He had a slave in the outhouse with chains. That's the word John come from. Do you know what the word picnic come from? That come from when the the uh, the people, and it wasn't just white people. You need to start doing that. It wasn't just white people. The people went and celebrated. I don't know if it's during July 4th or whatever. I don't care. But the people they went to a picnic, but they took a slave, I guess, because they thought he was being disobedient or whatever, or did something wrong, i.e., slept with their wives. uh, they hung them, and while they hung them, they watched them get hanged while they eat food. That's where the word picnic come from. So I'm just showing you through the minstrel show, but I'm showing you through the minstrel shows where the proverbs, because the Lord said, "Thou shalt be a proverb and a byword and astonishment among all the nations of the earth." So that's why you got Black Pete over there. Like over there, I think it was in Switzerland or something like that. They got someone called Black Pete right in your face. But you know, uh, let's stop some more proverbs they say about you. Lazy dog conundrum. In particular, why is the paper like a lazy dog? Because it has an inkling inclined to be lazy. I mean, black ink, you black, you lazy. The lawyer conundrum. What kind of 6F a cake is a lawyer? He's a sponge cake. Bones, you a sponge cake. Oh, man. The old maid conundrum. An old maid, a lemon cake, and a mighty hard to squeeze. So this just proverbs, They always got something to say about you. Now, uh, and the Lord now say you're a byword. So a byword is all those pet names the Lord gave you. I mean, the people gave you outside of what the Lord gave you when he adopted Jacob, because Israel is God's name. Jehovah is God's name. Uh, you know, and when he adopted Jacob, he gave him his name. Israel. But you don't hear that nowadays. You hear African, you hear black. This mask I got on black, my hair black, my TV black. So, look at a job application. Matter of fact, look at a job application. We are the only people that go from black, Afro, African American, African, FBA, Foundational Black American, back to black. We're gonna go back to black. We're gonna go right back to the same thing over and over. But outside of what the Lord called us, that's what a byword is. I wanted to read the Proverbs so where uh you can see where uh, 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 that all the proverbs and all that, the bywords and stuff. And I think they do got some bywords, but I'm just listing off titles. Black is a title word. You know, black is a title word for a place, people, a group, but that's not our name. So Why you calling me out my name? When I know my phone, my hair is black. I know my skin is black. So why you calling me out my name? That's why the Lord said we're gonna be a proverb and a power and all among all the nations. You know, I gotta look up something. Matter of fact, I gotta look up something where um see what other nations say, what other mystery show proverbs and um bywords they say in other nations. You know, you can list them off in the comment section if you want. But yeah, but I'm just reading the minstrel show part over here in America. You know, we're gonna go overseas, but that's dealing with something else. So he said, among all the nations of the earth, whether the Lord shall lead thee. Wait a minute. Let's look at a little bit of history on that. He said, whether the Lord shall lead thee. So where did we go? Did we just stay in America? Where did we go? What other places we went to? What other places we went to? So this right here, is talking about slavery and the slave trade and what other places did we go through. So I'm gonna just read a little bit because that's another scripture that talks about it too, and I gotta tie it in. Hang on, let me put my laptop on the charger. Yeah. But we're gonna read and see why the Lord said whether He have driven you. So then you'll know, oh, okay, America is not the only place. America's not the only place. So uh, let's see. Uh, Slavery is a global ancient institution that existed across nearly all civilizations, including Greece, Rome, Asia, and Africa, long before the during the American era. While the United States was a major slave-holding society, the majority of the 10 to 12 million enslaved Africans were sent to Brazil and Caribbean. But before that, we had the Assyrians. No, we had the Egyptians. We're gonna read that too. We had the Egyptians in Exodus 1, and we had the Assyrians that took out the 9 tribes. We was over there in Syria, Assyria, not the modern day Syria that was conquered by the Arabs. We talking about the Africans, the Hamites, the Assyrians, the Black Egyptians. Um, we're gonna read about that. Matter of fact, let me look at my notes. We're gonna read about that. I'm gonna look at my notes. All right. So what I'm at? All right, yeah. So what the Lord shall lead. So I just read a little bit of that history where it's talking about, uh, what the Lord shall lead thee. But I'm gonna expound upon it when I get a little further down in Deuteronomy 28. I'm gonna expound upon where we was at, you know, and stuff like that. The grits gonna get thicker. Don't worry about the biscuits and the grits gonna get thicker. Don't worry about it. Uh, let's see. What I'm supposed to read to? I'm gonna do around 28. Okay, I read 15 to 25, 30 to 40. I gotta read 40. And thou shalt carry much seed out into the field. Okay, into the field, and seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume. So not only the animals gonna eat better than you, the insects gonna eat better than you. You know. That's what happened during chattel slavery. Uh, we gathered crops, but it was not plenty. It was it was not enough because while we sleeping, the insects eat up the food. And thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, and um shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. You know, yeah, we get to dress the vineyards, the crops, the garden. Good grapes, amazing grapes crop up for like wine and stuff like that. But we wasn't going to enjoy the labor of our hands. And thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with oil, when thy olive shall cast its fruit. You know, we can't even anoint ourselves now. So we can't pray over a person that's dealing with sickness or illness, because the Lord said He's going to take that away because of the curses. And the curses going to pursue you and overtake you. And that during shut out slavery, that happened. We ran out of oil. We ran out of oil. Now you can't use the oil of anointment to pray unto the Lord. Hey, Lord, I got botched skin. I got this. I got that. I'm dealing with inflammation, all that. Because the Lord listed off what was going to happen, to us. But, you know, now, here go another, it's a lot of prophecy written in Deuteronomy 28. You can search out in history. You can find it. But 41, where I'm at. Because I'm make sure I don't skip over nothing. Make sure I don't skip over nothing. I'm at 40. I stopped at 40. I'm going to put it 41 to 49. All right. We're going to 41 to 49. And now he going to say it again. He already said thy sons and thy daughters going to be given to another people. But he going to say it again. Right here. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. You notice how we read what happened to Terrell Peterson? How there was he was put in foster care, but during the foster care, he was found deceased by the hand of his foster parents. And I think they found him in 1998. Found him in 1998. That happened here in Atlanta. It happened here in Atlanta, Georgia. I think it happened in uh yeah, it happened there. But this not the only time this happened where our people was taken into captivity. This ain't the only time. Well, our children. Uh, let's see. No, that's not it. Let me see. Why did I read? Let me see. Uh, yes. Nah. I ain't gonna do Planned Parenthood yet. Cause I gotta show. I ain't gonna do Planned Parenthood yet. I'm gonna show you a scripture and verse that dealt with abortion and all that, and the first institution of Planned Parenthood. We gonna read that. Then I'm gonna tie Planned Parenthood with that scripture. But this is about Planned Parenthood. I'm looking for because the Lord said, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, and thou shalt not enjoy them. But I'm finna look for some history on what happened during chattel slavery. Let me see, because I think I can read some more about breeding forms. I think. No, I can't read more because they're just talking about what happened to our wives in chattel slavery. No, that's not it. That's not. So I got to look it up. Uh, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna do it this way. Let me see this. Because Lord said, "Thou shalt beget sons and daughters." You know, the ones who thank God wasn't great. You know, but it's still a tragic event because your children was taken away from you. You know, we just got through reading what happened with the black foster care system. Uh, I might as well just say that because majority of us died in the foster care system during the 90s. Uh, Black children slaves, you know. Yeah, yeah. All right. But now the Lord said, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. So now we finna read what happened in chattel slavery, you know, in places like America, Canada, Brazil, the Caribbean islands, you know, and some places in Africa. During the period of slavery in the United States and other regions, black children were frequently and brutally victimized by being auctioned off and permanently separated from their families as a part of the domestic slave trade. Hang on, I'll be right back. Go on and sit down. Go lay down. Go your nose and go on and lay down. Go. All right, I'm back. I'm back. So I had to handle something. Uh, what was I at? Okay, I was talking about the children being auctioned off during chattel slavery and separated from families as part of the domestic slave trade. Historical context: a lucrative trade following the ban on the international slave trade in 1800. Why is every time I read something about the slave trade, every time I see about that, something is happening after the abolishment of slave trade. See, that letting you know it's still going on. Ain't nothing stopped. This train's still going. After the slave trade in 1808, a massive domestic slave trade flourished within the U.S., particularly transporting over 1 million enslaved people from the upper South to the lower South. This became an immensely profitable enterprise driven by the demand for labor on cotton plantations. But cotton plantations weren't the only plantation. You had sugar, tobacco, you had rice, all that were plantations. Uh, Throughout Brazil was the most lucrative, you know, because of the sugar. Sugar is very synonymous with us, you know. Uh, but yeah, Mohammed. Okay, family separation. A core trauma of slavery was the constant threat and reality of family separation. Enslaved people and were considered property and could be sold at any time to settle a debt, divide an estate, or for profit. Historians estimate that roughly half of all enslaved people were separated from a parent or a child. Vice versa, a child separated from their parents, a parent separated from their child. Uh, yeah, that's it right there. No, this ain't. Here goes some more that still happen. The humanizing process. Auctions were highly dehumanizing events. Enslaved individuals, including children, were physically examined by prospective buyers who inspected their bodies, hands, and teeth. Auctioneers would often emphasize uh, emphasize the health and physical attributes of young boys to drive up bids. Mothers and young children were sometimes sold as a unit, but it was also common for them to be sold separately, with infants and very young children auctioned individually. So that what happened child slavery after the abolishment of the slave trade in 1808. That what happened to our children. Uh, that's what the Lord said, verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. So that what happened during child slavery. So yeah. Now, verse 42. And all thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. So he stressed it again where all our labor, the vineyards, the fruits, the vegetables, the insects going to uh they're going to enjoy more than you. Enjoy the fruit of thy labor. Well, here go another prophecy that you can find in history. And the stranger that is within thee shall get up to thee up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Yeah, cause look around. You know, um, look around. We want to go to the suburbs. We want to move out the hood. We want to. Matter of fact, the Lord said, you gonna deal. He gonna deal with the people just to make you jealous. A people, a foolish nation to make you jealous, because we make Him jealous, dealing with false gods made out of wood and stone. Because the Lord already said that we were gonna have a king within us, and then we're gonna be removed. We're gonna serve other gods made out of wood and stone, and we're gonna move God and provoke Him to jealousy. But He did the exact same thing to us. So now, you know, you got people come thousands of miles away. They don't speak English at all. They come thousands of miles away, and they prosper. They do well. They do better. The best schools, the best doctors, the best hospitals, the best teacher, the best books. Matter of fact, I can show that. I can show what happened when you know when like the books and stuff like that. Black people, black kids had raggedy books, and uh, kids of another nation, because the Lord said, "Stranger gonna come up very high, you're gonna come down very low." Uh, they gonna have the best of everything, the best schools. They own the banks. Who own, they own the banks, the financial loan. We we would have been the financial bankers, but the Lord said, if we would have kept the Lord's commandments and laws, that's what He said in Deuteronomy 28, the first half. He said we would have been the loaners and not the borrowers. But now it's the reverse thing, you know. Uh, is you gonna go to Tyrone, or you gonna go to Billy, Billy's financial loans? You gonna go to Tyrone financial loans, or you gonna go to Billy financial loans? You know, and the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. So when it comes to very high, we it's always negative or stereotype. And then when it come down very, when we as a people, we always get stereotyped and negative, because the Lord said we're gonna come down very low. But here go other nations that's don't come, that come from thousands of miles away. Europe, Asia, uh, uh, South America, Canada. They come thousands of miles away, and they come and do better than you. Africa, they think they're superior, better than you. Got the best schools, the best neighborhoods. I'm just saying, because the Lord said the stranger, meaning that when Israel came out of Egypt, it was a mixed multitude. Hello, it was a mixed multitude. So when they came out of Egypt, uh, everybody saw the power of our God, and they rolled with us. But when before that happened, before the Exodus happened, Egypt was what's the word I'm looking for? Egypt was the prototype for America. So or other lands, because in America you still see the pyramid. You still see the pyramid on a dollar bill, and you still see in the Washington monuments. You still see pyramids. Even in South America, you see a pyramid. So it's just a prototype. Egypt was uh, a trade business, uh, dealing with architecture and all that, and that's what it is. But the Lord said, "The stranger within thee shall come up very high; you shall come down very low." But you notice how the Lord said that in the first half of Deuteronomy 28, He says that we was going to be the loaners and we shall not borrow. But now it's a reverse thing, because He said if you don't hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God and keep His commandments and laws and statutes, it's a reverse thing now. You know, now, now right here at verse 44, and it say, He shall lend to thee. Why you say He? The Lord could have named the nation, but He did. He's just showing you, hey, no matter where you are, no matter what country you in, that person or group or nation, that person or group or nation, they gonna lend to you, and they're not gonna borrow from you. So what financial banks we gonna go to? We're gonna go to Salad. We're gonna go to Shaniqua's financial bank, or we're gonna go to Sally's. You see what I'm saying? Is we gonna go? What a black bank name I can say? Uh, let's say a financial institution or a bank uh, getting in the black. You're gonna go to getting in the black, or you're gonna go to Bank of America, or you're gonna go to Wachovia, or Wells Fargo. You know, that's why the Lord said, "The strangers within thee shall come up above thee very high; thou shalt come down very low, and that he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him." See, if I lend a brother or sister $5, I got to get it back within a week. So, you know, because I got to pay my rent. I'm gonna pay my rent. I lend you $5. I gotta pay it back in within a week. You know, and don't get sick. Now, when you sick off the job or you injured off the job, you gotta go to Bank of America or something like that to get a loan, just to pay your rent or buy groceries. You know, basically, and yeah, and it says right here, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him, and he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. You know, that's why he say, uh, this person, this group, this nation, gonna come up above thee very high. You're gonna come down very low. You know, look at people that come thousands of miles away. You know, you got Chinatown, you got Japantown, you got Little Italy, you got Greek Town. You know, you got all these towns, but your black towns like Rosewood and Black Wall Street is burnt down to the ground. You know, Lake Lanier burnt down to the ground. No, not just burnt down to the ground. Lake Lanier, they would they flood the area so they can. So then we want to know that Lake Lanier was another black town within Georgia. But you know, that's how it is. You know, well, I'm reading the 50. So verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, until thou be destroyed. But why? Why all this happening to us? Why are we the first fire and last hire? Why are we the 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 majority on the incarcerated, but the minority on the outside? Why are we most likely to be killed? Because thou hearken not unto the voice of the Lord your God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. 46. And thou shalt and they shall be a sign, but be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Oh, wait a minute. What do you mean a sign? A sign identifies a person, place, or a thing. You know, what's a wonder? You know, you always gonna be astounded. Not only you gonna be astounded, but other nations gonna be astounded. You know, everybody wondering why this happening to you. You know, why this, why that, why is this situation, why this condition, why you in this condition. You know, why is this happening to you? And then you're gonna be like, oh, woe is me. Why is me? You know, why is this happening to me? If we got enough sense to say that, you know, because nowadays we more concerned about money than we are concerned about our conditions. 47. And he said upon thy seed forever. You know, that means no matter the generation, someone along the line gonna see these signs. He gonna see all the wonders, and he gonna see, oh, it's upon us. You know, he already lists off what was gonna happen, child out slavery to us. We're gonna betroth the wife, another man gonna lie with her. We're gonna have children. They're gonna be given to another people. You know, begat sons and daughters. They're gonna go into captivity. And we just read some history on that. You know, what happened to Terrell Peterson and the black foster care? What happened to the black children slaves when they was auctioned off? What happened to, even the Lord said the stranger gonna come up very high, you're gonna come down very low. You know, we now um, either through through redlining. Redlining. They used to separate the blacks from the whites or other nations, and in majority of the time, we ended up in the hood or the ghettos, and then we try to maneuver over to you know the city, but well, not the city, within the suburban areas. But once that happened, they move out, we move in, and then the cycle starts over. The curse starts over because the Lord said, "Curse shall thou be in the city, curse shall thou be in the field." So wherever you are, the curse is gonna follow you. And then you say, "Oh well, I'm not cursed." Well, I'm not cursed. Then why is your children cursed? Why they being disrespectful and all that? You know, they eating up your food, all that. The Lord said, "Curse is thy body, the fruit of thy body." That means your children. So they gonna follow you too. And then once your children follow, here go your people. You know, uh, look at what happened to Compton, L.A. Compton. It used to be a suburban area. Uh, Matter of fact, I'm gonna leave that off to another scripture. But yeah, because the Lord said in Jeremiah 12, He said something about gentrification and all that, redlining. I'm gonna put that together. Uh, but the Lord said, "They shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. For the same, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, with the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, and in hunger and thirst and nakedness and wants of all things." What you mean in hunger and thirst and nakedness? During the slave trade, when the slaves was on the boats, they didn't have no shoes. They didn't have no shoes, no shirts, nothing. They was in the cold. They was in the rain. If not, they was inside the boat, stacked up like planks. You know, uh, and hunger and in thirst. So we was always hungry, thirsty, and and wanting of all and nakedness. So yeah, we didn't have nothing, and wanting of all things. Like today, we want the best of everything. We want to live in the same neighborhoods as the stranger. We want to live. We want the best shoes, the best houses, the best clothes. This and that. Um, but within this scripture, there's another prophecy that happened, and you can find in history. Uh, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. What's a yoke of iron? Let's go into some history and read about it. What's a yoke of iron? We call it yokes, but they call it neck shackles. All right. Um, it's from the Tennessee State Museum. Uh, these chain iron necks were used to restrain two enslaved persons. Traders of enslaved people typically use these uncomfortable, humiliating devices to transport coffles, which were a group of enslaved people, because they kept the person's legs free from walking. It was common for groups of enslaved people to be seen walking hundreds of miles in these type of chains. And these chains were made on the persons until they reached their destination, to either a new plantation or a pen, where they would stay and until auction day by 1860. About 275,000 enslaved Africans lived in the state, mostly in West and Middle Tennessee. Enslaved Tennessee created their own communities despite many obstacles like the constant threat of sale. So, basically, dealing with that. But Yokes were used that was carved out of trees. So they carved it, put it around their neck, so the slave couldn't run. They couldn't run, couldn't walk until they was given permission to. So yeah, but that's what the Lord meant about yokes around your necks. So that's what the Lord meant. So there was a little history on the yokes. Sometimes they use trees, and sometimes they use chains for the slave catchers who found slaves that didn't have freedom papers. They chained them up, or you know, uh, 49, Deuteronomy 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. What do you mean that upon a nation, uh, uh, upon a nation fast as an eagle fly? They fly fast. Into another nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. What you mean tongue? Language? Men tell me when we got out them slave ships, we didn't understand Portuguese, we didn't understand English, we didn't speak Italian, we didn't speak Japanese, we didn't speak Mandarin. But let's see what we spoke when we got out them slave ships. Let's see what we spoke. This was found in my state of Georgia. The first Black Baptist church in Savannah, Georgia. They found Hebrew writings from slaves on the the pews. If I can find it. Matter of fact, let me look at the images because I know they got the words on here. Let's see. Because they say there's another proverb. The slaves are dumb; they can't read. But I read here where the Lord said, "The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the ends of the earth, as swift as an eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand." So that doesn't mean we were dumb. That just meant, you know, we spoke another language. Because the Lord said, "A stammering lip and another tongue will I speak to this people." But it says right here, location. The markings are located inside the First African Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia, which is known as one of the oldest black churches in the United States. Context: the church was built in part by enslaved people, and the markings are often interpreted as personal signatures, symbols, or remnants of African scripts rather than functional Hebrew. But they didn't realize that they spoke Hebrew. You notice in Roots when the brother said Kunta Kinte, they beat Hebrew out of us. They beat it. They beat the language out of us. They beat everything out of us. They didn't just beat they didn't beat the blackness off of us. They beat everything out of us. You know, they took everything. You know, your language, your identity. You even forgot who your God was. You know, got you serving a white man on the wall when the scripture tell you that Jesus is black. But I digress. But yeah, that's the Hebrew writing. You can find the Hebrew writings. I don't know if they tore it down with it, cause every time uh, every time you find some semblance to your people, ancestors, they take it down. They don't want you to know. And I'm going to show you why they don't want you to know, according to the scriptures. They don't want you to know. So then you can find out, oh, because the Lord said, upon this people, it's going to be a sign and a wonder, you know, upon thy seed, forever, your seed, forever. So then your seed throughout your generation and generations can look back. Oh, okay. But that's why the Lord said, the Lord shall bring thee into a nation against thee from afar, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle. You know, they fly swiftly and fly a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. So that doesn't mean we was dumb, we was foolish. It just means we didn't speak your language. Because the Lord said, with another stammering lip and another tongue, will I speak to this people. You know, you know. Uh, and then verse 50. Here go another prophecy that you can find in history. Uh, a nation of fierce continents, which shall not regard the persons of the old, nor show favor to the young. So, you know, uh, they ain't gonna show no favor. You know, they ain't gonna show no favor. You know, hey, just because you a black 16-year-old boy, don't think we gonna let you get away with what you did. So once you turn 21 years old, you're gonna be tried as an adult, or we gonna try you as an adult while you're 16. So uh, uh, they don't care about the elderly. You know, uh, you just seen what happened to Mr. The brother, Mr. Tenderism. You just seen what happened. You know, you just seen it. They don't care about the elderly. They don't. You know, they ain't gonna regard them. You just seen what happened to Mr. Tenderness, the brother. You know, that's why the Lord said, the stranger within thee shall come up very high. You shall come down very low. He shall lend to you, and he shall not borrow. But, you know, and thou shalt, he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. But you seen what happened to Mr. Tenderism, the Mr. Famous Amos guy, all our elders, you know. Uh, it's either that uh, the idea is being stolen, or you know, look what happened in during the civil rights movement, and look what happened during the riots with Watts. You know, look what happened. You know, nothing has changed. Has anything changed? No, because you still see it's either sons and daughters, grandsons or granddaughters going to jail or getting killed, or vice versa with the elders, you know. So they ain't gonna regard it. And he said a nation, so we already know the Lord said he was gonna scatter us among the nations. So what difference does it make? It don't make a difference. It's just you seeing it more over here because the media is more prominent. See, in other countries like Africa, China, and all that, they limit their media and stuff like that. But over here, you see a lot what's going on. But in other countries, because of their government, their media is either full of propaganda or their media is limited, very limited. So the media got very less access. But over here is more broad. And you seen what happened to our people, you know. All right. Now where I'm at. Go back to my notes. Oh yeah. Look what's going on. I think it's in Memphis with Elon Musk and that situation with the gas and stuff like that, you know. They ain't gonna regard the persons the old and the young. That's why the Lord said, and the Lord shall bring thee the nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as an eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Even though we wrote Hebrew, we wrote it on spoke Hebrew. We wrote it on the pews so that hey, look, look, look where you are, where you come from. You know, you had some slaves that knew who they were. You know, they knew who they were, who they are, where they come from, who their God is. You had some slaves that had their eyes on. Uh, but majority, the Hebrew word was beaten out of us. Our identity beaten out of us. Who our God is beaten out of us. So yeah, that's why a nation of fierce commandments, we shall not regard the persons of the old, nor show favor to the young. So where I'm at? Okay. Uh, verse 50 through 68, but I don't want to read 51 through. I'm gonna read verse 50, then we're gonna skip because 51 is talking about on down is talking about what happened in 70 AD. Uh, 50. See, where I'm going. We're supposed to read the 68. So, uh, uh, 58. I need to change that. I need to put that at 58. I need to put that at 58 and put that one at 50. Where's my Where's my mouse? Hang on. I see my mouse. All right. I'm gonna put that at 50. Put that one at 58. All right, 58. Then 58 to 68. Uh, That thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord your God. 59. Then the Lord shall make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, of the long continuance, and sore sickness, and of long continuance. So we know about AIDS, HIV, all that. AIDS, HIV, uh, boils, emeralds, all that. 60. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. So we got all that during the slave trade. Hang on. What? Where's what? Come on. What? Show me. You got to go up. All right. Quick. Where I'm at? 58. 58. All right, not 58. 60. So yeah, basically the Lord said that the plagues, the sickness, all that stuff, diseases, dealing with that is gonna come upon us. 61. Also, every sickness, every plague, which is not written in the book of this law. So, you know, uh, all the books and stuff, book of this law. So basically, well, disease the Lord come up with is gonna be put upon us, because the Lord said, "Curse thy seed, curse is thy seed, and you're gonna be cursed as a people, and it's gonna overto you and overtake you." So, and COVID might be one of the plagues. Well, probably is one of the plagues. You know, look at all these new sickness and diseases that's popping up. Look at what happened with the flu. So, majority of our people died. So then will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. 62. Uh, and and you shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven for a multitude, because thou wouldst not obey the voice of the Lord your God. So now we used to be a whole nation, one nation, but now we separate. So now uh you got three tribes, Judah, Levi, and Benjamin, that broke off from the 9 tribes when Jeroboam took over and had the 10 tribes, but Judah left. So, you know, and Jeroboam had 10. He had all 12 tribes. He had 10 tribes, and Judah, Levi, and Benjamin. He fired Levi, Judah, Levi, and Benjamin together. So we over here in the American hemisphere, and we just finding out about ourselves, but still we don't know what tribe we come from. But then we hear noises over there in Africa. We hear noises about the Falashins and the Igbos and the Tutsis. We hear noises about them. We hear noises about uh, a slave from the Ashanti, Asher. So we hear noises, but we left few in number because the Lord said he was going to scatter us among the people, among the nations. So that's why he said he left us few in number. Whereas you were as the stars of the heavens for a multitude, because thou wouldst not obey the voice of the Lord your God. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, the blessings which he outlined in Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14, the blessings. So the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and you shall be plucked from off the land whether thou should goest to possess, if you don't keep his laws and commandments. But we saw that. We saw what Israel did, when they first got out of the land of Egypt. When they first got out the land of Egypt, Aaron them made a molten calf, you know. So we saw that. But the Lord saying here, now he gonna bring the curses on you. No, he gave them an ultimatum, the blessings and the curses. He gave Israel the ultimatum. So now we see we got the curses. But uh, you know, and 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people. Why you keep saying scattering? I always want, he always keeps scattering among people, among nations. Why the Lord keeps saying that? Because he's trying to wake you up and tell you, hey, A, I'm the one doing this, and B, you gonna see, you gonna wake up and see that, these nations ain't gonna guard the old and the young. These nations gonna have a fierce countenance against you. They're gonna always come up against you. Uh, you're gonna always try to beg, and you're gonna always try to get a loan from them. Well, everything could have been easy. Everything could have been easy where, we would have been the bank, we would have been the bankers and the loaners, and we would have been the what's the word I'm looking for? We would have been the financial financial providers. You know, no, we would have been the top people on the planet. No matter what happened on this planet, we would have been the boss. But among the and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So you notice how a few verses ago he said, "A king shall within thee, you shall have a king within thee, and when thou go into captivity, you serve other wood and stone gods, nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone." He said it again here, because he letting you know your fathers dealt with one God. That's it. We only dealt with one God. Jesus is the only God we ever dealt with. He is the first God we ever dealt with. He is the last God we're going to deal with. And he just letting you know right here, because we didn't obey and keep his laws and commandments. Not only we going to serve our enemies, chat out slavery, whatever, we ain't going to serve our enemies. We're going to serve their gods, made out of wood and stone. They can't walk and talk, you know, can't be seen. You know, they can't breathe. You know, that I said it again. This is the second time saying it. Our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and um, some some of the slaves. Some of the slaves had their eyes on, because it says that the Lord said that we was gonna go into a nation swiftly as an eagle flyer, and we ain't gonna understand their tongue. So if we ain't gonna understand their tongue, that means we don't understand their language. We don't understand anything about them. But we know we know uh, who we worship, and we know who we dealt with, dealing with laws and commands of the Lord. But, you know, the God of Easter, Christmas, Sunday, all that, you know, uh, I'm going to do a lesson on this, dealing with the gods of the people and the nations, and why we deal with that, because I got lessons up here on that too. But this is about prophecy and history, so we're just dealing with prophecy and history. So I'm just outlining prophecy and looking it up in history, see that it happened. So yeah, this happened too. So you know, uh, the Lord tell you, Jeremiah 10, don't celebrate Christmas, don't deal with it, dealing with a false god, and a man that's white, you know, that you hang on your walls. And in the Bible it tell you that Jesus black and Israel black, but you got a white man on your wall. Then you had dealing with Easter, dealing with fertility and fornication and all that, and dealing with paganism. And he tell you that in Ezekiel 8. And then he tell you about the sun. When people go to church on Sunday, they are the sun worshipers. So he tell you about that. But in Ezekiel 8. But that's what the Lord said. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all the people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So that's how it is nowadays. I could have brought up what happened to the black Jews in Timbuktu, but I'm gonna say that for another scripture, another scripture that's coming up, because I got to show you what happened in Africa. You know, majority of the time we talking about America, but the Lord keeps saying nations and countries and scattered. So you got to go to other countries and see what happened over there too. So, but I'm gonna do that when another scripture that come up that's gonna really show, hey man, they got you in the bind. So, 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, and the foot have no rest. Go back a few verses. Did not the Lord say that the Lord gonna bring you into a nation swiftly as the eagle flieth, and that you know that these people gonna have a fierce countenance. They ain't gonna guard the persons of the old and the young. They don't care. They don't care. All you gotta do, matter of fact, all you gotta do, get up every morning, except for the Sabbath. Get up every morning, Thursday, Monday through Thursday. Go to traffic court and see who the majority is, and see who come in, and see who go out, and see who the majority of the people that's in traffic court. So that's all you gotta do. But yeah, but it said the soles of thy foot ain't gonna have no ease. So that means they're not gonna regard the persons of the old and the young. That's why the Lord said, He's gonna strike us with madness, but we're gonna be blind. So we're gonna be marching and all that, protesting, all that, shake the fist. We're gonna do this, but it ain't gonna be easy. So neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee a trembling heart and a failing eyes and sorrow of mind. So that means our strength gonna be taken away. Just like I said, go watch Roots. They took everything from me. The Lord said, you gonna go into a nation and you ain't gonna understand that tongue. Go watch Roots. Go watch it. The man's name was Kunta Kinte. The man's name was Kunta Kinte. They changed his name through beatings. So you see, but a trembling heart, we're afraid of everything. We got locks and bars all on our doors. Look at Los Angeles. They got so many black neighborhoods got so many locks and bars in Los Angeles. I wonder if they're gonna survive the forest fires. And it's funny, who is setting them forest fires on fire? Either the angel of the Lord or is it a human being that's doing it? They always setting the forest fires, fires, the forest on fire. But I'm just saying, I'm using that telling you we got so many locks and bars on our doors. It makes no sense. When a fire break out, we burn up. That's why the Lord said we have a trembling heart and a sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. Tell me, in this hemisphere alone, in America, what nation is the most likely to be killed? You walk out your house, it's like open season. You know, either your own people kill you, the police kill you, or the police sit back and watch while you get killed, or then the police get out the car, they kill the person that killed you. So we're the most likely to be killed within this country alone. But we can go over to other countries, you know. We can go to other countries, especially in the Horn of Africa. We can go into other countries, you know. But, you know, 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God were even. And at evening thou shalt say, with God it was morning. For the fear of thy heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thy eyes which thou see. So you're gonna see all this stuff. You're gonna see the strangers rise up, you know, get above thee very high, thou shalt come down very low. Through child slavery, we saw our wives being raped and all that. Uh, we even see it in the movies. Uh, Roots and all that. We saw we see when we in a nation, they ain't gonna regard the old and the young. They're gonna have a fierce countenance. That means they will not care. They will always be against you. So we see that nowadays. We see our children still going through uh, uh, foster care and defects, and Because the Lord said, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they're going to go into captivity. So, seeing a lot of stuff prophesied in Deuteronomy 28. You can look up in history and find it. So that's why it says, you're going to see. It's not, you're going to see it. And if you ain't going to see it, you're going to hear about it. So, 68. And the Lord shall bring thee in Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto thee. And thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So that means now he went from rescue to save. Now he say buy. But buy means help you out of this situation. Just like when the Lord says save, rescue, same thing. You been doing 28. Till he say save, then he say rescue, then he say buy. So that means they ain't gonna help you out of the situation. But when he say Egypt again with ships, so now you got people talking about, well, you see, hey, what you mean you ain't going back to Egypt? Let's go to Hosea. Let's go to Hosea, the 11th chapter. Hosea, the 11th chapter. When Israel, verse 1, when Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt. Go back and read what the Lord told Moses. Israel is my son, uh, even my firstborn. If Pharaoh won't let my son, even my firstborn go, I'm going to kill his son, even his firstborn. But you can read the other scriptures where the Lord say, I'm a hard Pharaoh heart, because I don't want to put my hands on Egypt. So, yeah. And verse 2, and as they called to them, so they went from them. And let me see, Hosea 1 through 5. Okay, 1 through 5. Hosea 11, 1 through 5. So I'm just reading to letting you know we ain't going back to Egypt. So, as they called them, so they went from them. They sacrificed unto Baalim, I mean false gods, pagan gods, made out of wood and stone, and burnt incense to graven images. And I taught Ephraim, is another name for Israel, also to go, taking them by their arms, but they knew not that I healed them. Go back and see what the Lord did when Israel came out of Egypt the first time. And he made sure that, we was healed. All our bruises and scars and all that went away. Did everything he could. And 4, I drew them with the cords of a man with bands of love, and I was to them as they that take off the yoke on their jaws, and I laid meat unto them. So not only he freed us from the shackles and stuff, he fed us when we got out of the land of Egypt. He fed us. Verse 5, he shall not. Now you're going to understand what the Lord meant when the Lord say you're going to go into Egypt again when you read that scripture in Deuteronomy 28. He shall not return into the land of Egypt, but the Assyrians shall be his king. So the Assyrians, the Hamites, the Africans, not the Syrians of today who conquered the land, the Arabs of Assyria. Assyria, the Africans, when they conquered Jerusalem and took out Jeroboam and the rest of the 9 tribes, that's what they brought in another people, the Samaritans. So that's why you see when the Lord went to the well, he was speaking to a Samaritan woman. And the Jews never dealt with the Samaritans. But the Samaritans was brought into the Assyrians. So yeah. I don't know why I said I was live when I'm already live. Yeah. So the Assyrians are Africans, Hamites. You see some, the Lord did what he did to the Egyptians. He made the name of Egypt and all that stuff disappear. The people disappear. You don't see them no more. You don't see the Assyrians no more. Even though you see one or two black Egyptians, but you don't see them running the land. They're not running politics. They're not running religion. They don't even have their own laws. The Arabs conquered Egypt. You know. Yeah. So the Assyrians, he shall not return into the land of Egypt, and but the Assyrians shall be his king because they refused to return. So now you go back to Deuteronomy 28, and you'll understand why the Lord say, uh, you'll understand why the Lord say, you're going to Egypt again with ships because Egypt represents a house of bondage. That what it represents to us. It represents a house of bondage. You know, matter of fact, I can matter of fact, that's what we're gonna go to, and I'm gonna show you that Egypt represents a house of bondage. And then not only I'm gonna show you Egypt is a house of bondage, I'm gonna show you the first institution of Planned Parenthood and abortion. Let's take a pit stop right here. Let's go to we're gonna come back to Deuteronomy 28. So I gotta finish off 58 through 68. We're gonna come back and just show you it represents a house of bondage to us. This is when the new Pharaoh rose up to power. He didn't know Joseph. He didn't know what Joseph did for the land of Egypt, or he just didn't care. Exodus 1, 1 through 8. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his house came with Jacob. So I ain't gonna name all the names. So I'm gonna skip down and get to where Joseph died and a new Pharaoh rose to power. And Joseph died, well, no, and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already. So those 70 souls was virgin males. They didn't marry, they were virgin males. And they got their wives from the Egyptians. And verse 6, Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. Now, 1 through 8. And now, verse 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceedingly mightily, and the land was filled with them. We can have some babies, man. We can have some babies. And 8, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. See, he didn't know Joseph, and he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. 10, verse 10, come on, let's deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and they come to pass that when there fall out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. And so get them up out of the land. And we do that too. We do that too. Every time something happens, uh, every time something happens in the country, we always try to fight against that nation, and their government. We always try to do that. You know, that was the reason why hip hop was born. To fight against the machine, the government, and all that. But it's always been in our blood to do that. But 11. Therefore, it did set over them taskmasters. Wait, what's a taskmaster? Ain't that a slave owner? Ain't that a slave owner? A slave master? That's a taskmaster. To afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasures and cities, Pitma and Ramses. So you know who built those cities. It was our forefathers. And then you look at them pyramids before the Gentiles, white peoples, before they chopped off the noses, you'll figure out, oh, okay, we see who built those pyramids. Uh, and 12. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. Like I said, we can have some papers. So the more burden and problems and you put on us, the only comfort and peace we're gonna have is with our women. So we're gonna make a lot of babies. So that's the only comfort we're gonna have. You know, my check low. Man, I'm working all these hours. I'm stressful. I'm upset. I'm angry. I come home. My wife cooked me a good meal. My woman cooked me a good meal. And hey, that's the only comfort I'm gonna have through her. And the Egyptians, verse 13. No. And they grew. I gotta finish it. And they grew, and They were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. That means a lot of anger, a lot of hate, all that with forced labor. Forced labor. You know, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage. So you see, Egypt represents a house of bondage. That's why the Lord said you won't go into Egypt again with ships. So no matter the country, and no matter the country or nation, the Lord already said they ain't gonna guard the old and the young. You gonna go into a nation that's a fierce continent, a nation whose tongue you're not gonna understand. So and hard bondage, and mortar and brick, and in all manner of service in the field, and their service. Wait a minute, what you mean all manner of service in the field? See what happened? You know, not only they was building the Ramses, the pyramids of Ramses and Pittman, they were doing field work, cotton, tobacco. Remember, Egypt was a hub for trade business. You know, it was America before America. So it's like, you know, you see all these countries with pyramids because they copy the system of Egypt and the architecture. But yeah, then you see in brick and all the manner of service in the field, and the service where they made them to serve was with rigor, forced labor, chattel slave. But 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 you see you had help, and those bricks were like 50 tons. Like I can't push 50 tons by myself. Five, 10 brothers can't push 50 tons by themselves. They let you know that the angel of the Lord was there. The angel of the Lord was there because there's nowhere in Exodus where it says that a person died from uh, building the pits of Ramses, you know, building the pyramids. They let me know right here. I know I can't push 50 tons. You can't push 50 tons. A brick, a mortar, plus it was slimy. Could have slipped in. It don't say where a Hebrew slave uh, was killed as a result to um, the bricks. While they building the pyramids and stuff like that, statues. But uh, they let you know the Lord was there. You had help. You know. And verse 15. But let me show you the first institution of Planned Parenthood and abortion. And women, if you have a son, black women, you have a son, you gotta really tell your son to be careful. My mama said all the time, be careful. Don't wear a hood, don't wear a mask. Don't wear a shiesty mask and all that. You know, don't you know. But you're gonna see why uh, our sons are in danger. You're gonna see why our sons are in danger, and nothing has changed. I'm gonna show you what happened in uh, uh, child slavery in Egypt, and then I'm gonna show you what happened now in modern day. Because Remember, the Lord said we're going to begat sons and daughters, and they shall go into captivity. And I just showed you what happened to Terrell Peterson and other black children in the foster care system. But I'm going to show you the first institution of Planned Parenthood and abortion. So now, here go the Pharaoh. See, now we went from chattel slavery to now they want to exterminate and annihilate our nation. And verse 15, and the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives. You know, a midwife is like a caretaker or a nurse for nursing the babies. That's a midwife. You know, I think some of them still exist today. Uh, you know, uh, you know, and spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name was Shipporah, and the name of the other Puah. And 16, and he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. Why? Why? Because the man carried the seed. Go back in Genesis. Every seed after his own kind. Adam created he them, male and female. She them, he them. So it don't say she, it don't say her. It say him, his. Every seed after his own kind. Because the man carried the seed. So if you kill the male, the whole lineage die. The whole bloodline is gone. So now if I kill the male, and what else I gotta do? Uh, what else I gotta do? But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Why? Because when the daughter grow up, she become a woman. She grow up. The Hebrew daughter grow up. There ain't no Hebrew males to continue the lineage. Ain't no more Hebrew males, and the lineage and the bloodline is gone because the Egyptian can sleep with the woman, the Hebrew woman, and the majority of the bloodline will be Egyptian. So the majority of the bloodline be Egyptian, and you know that's why Pharaoh said that. So that's the first institution of Planned Parenthood and uh, abortion. But I'm gonna show you uh, this happened in history too. This happened in let me see. I think I can pull that up too. But I wanted to show uh what happened with what is it? No, that's not it. Hmm. This woman named Margaret. Uh, what's her name? Margaret. I forgot her name again. I pulled up some history on her and her organization. Uh, Margaret. Let me see. No, where is it? Margaret Sangers. This happened in 1939. We're gonna look at a modern version of, you know, um, Planned Parenthood and abortion. We just, I'm not done reading what happened in Egypt, but I just want to stop right here and look it up so you can show you what happened. I should have done it when the Lord said do not terminate your sons and daughters gonna go into captivity, but I'm showing it here so you can see ain't nothing changed since the days of Egypt. See, America and other places they just copy Egypt. So they copied the Africans anyway. So whatever the Africans did, they copied it and tried to, uh, you know, use the same tactics. Uh, let me see. Why they don't? Hang on. I gotta look it up. No, it's not it. I'm looking for the history. Let me just look up her name. Margaret.